Good evening to you all. We are back to another session of Haley's Plantations, Evening with an Experts, session number 9. We would like to warmly welcome you for the session number 9. Also, first and foremost, I would like to convey my special thanks to Susantha and his IT team of Kalanavali Plantations. Always with their support, only that we are conducting this every day in the late evening on each and every session. So special thanks goes to Susant and his IT team. As you all know, we have completed 8 sessions on this new learning journey, even with an expert at Haley's Plantations, with Sri Lankan and global best speakers on various topics from agriculture to plantations to various management topics, including productivity, leadership, lean, change, and etc. Today, session number 9 of Evening with an Expert at Haley's Plantations. On behalf of our Managing Director, Dr. Roshan Rajzore, and the entire team of Haley's Plantations, I would like to warmly welcome the eminent guest speaker today for the session number 9, Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi. I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi to today's session. So let me introduce Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. He's a leader with a proven track record in the corporate world, a consistent contributor to the development of the marketing profession and broader national issues, a thought leader in management, and author for over 15 books in Sinhala and English published in Sri Lanka as well as in UK. He's a speaker, trainer, and consultant with special capabilities in marketing, strategy, and human resource development. He counts over 30 years of experience in sales, advertising, marketing, human resource management, and general management, of that over 15 years in senior management level and more than 10 years at director level of number of leading organizations, enriched by local as well as international experience and exposure. Having started his career as a trainee and after 30 years of work life, he left the full-time employment as the managing director of Aviva NDB, which is now AIA. He currently serves on its board. Also, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi served on the boards of Singer Sri Lanka PLC, Pan Asian Power PLC, and the board of management of Postgraduate Institute of Management, PIM, as a non-executive independent director. He served for the boards of Sampath Bank PLC, Hemas Manufacturing, and the Council of Management of University of Moratuwa and University of Kelani. Functioned also as the commissioner of the Sri Lanka Inventors Commission and gave leadership to a number of national level initiatives to promote innovativeness in the country. So with that introduction, I would like to warmly welcome and invite Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi to address you all on the session number 9 of Evening with an Expert at Haley's Plantations on the topic of Let Your Mind Strong and Stable, Use of Mindfulness in Crisis Time. Over to you, Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi.
Thank you, Aniruddha, for inviting me to share this evening with you. Let me share my screen so that I can navigate with the use of a few slides.
Sorry to trouble you, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi, if you can increase your volume a little bit.
Yes, sure. Is it clear now?
Yeah, we can see the presentation. Yeah.
What about the voice? Is it okay?
Voice
now?
is little bit low.
Okay, give me a second. I'll change the microphone. The other one. Sometimes it picks up. Does it pick up now better?
Still a little bit low side, but
does it pick up better now without it? Or let me. How is it now?
Yes, yes, a little bit better, yeah, compared to previous. It's okay, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. Yes. If you can put it to the presentation mode, the
Yeah,
presentation,
I will do, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Once again, thank you and a good evening. And thank you for deciding to stay back this evening to spend some time with us together. And I sincerely believe this is a very timely topic that you have picked up. And let's explore a little bit in this limited time available to see how you can benefit from this simple technique, which is spoken so widely now. But before I start the session, let me share with you a little story. There was a person during the first wave of COVID. He woke up in the middle of the night, feeling a little feverish. He touched his neck with the back of his palm, and he felt that he was running temperature. And then he tried to swallow something, but he couldn't. He felt that the throat was painful. He slowly walked up, got out of his bed, and went to the pantry, drank some hot water, came to the bed. But he couldn't sleep. He was thinking, maybe I have contracted COVID. What shall I do? Now this is, mind you, this is during the first wave. And he thought, now in the morning, I'll have to call 190 and I will be taken away. And can I give a hug to my wife and the child? No, I shouldn't be doing that. And what shall I carry with me? And he imagined himself going to IDH. And then he thinks, oh my God, nobody will be able to come and see me. And if things gets worse, I will be transferred to ICU, and then I might be put into a ventilator. And he has heard that ventilator is very, very difficult. And then if I die, and I will be dying without seeing any of my loved ones. These thoughts persisted throughout the night and on to the next few days. So this is how a person's mind works. And in fact, at one of the mindfulness sessions like this, a few minutes after the program, one of the participants called me and said, Deepal, how did you know my story? I said, which story? No, the story that you related at the beginning. It was precisely the same that happened to me, and I haven't been able to sleep ever since. I was going through the same emotions that you explained. So it goes to tell that this is not one isolated incident, but it is a universal experience. Let's explore together as to why this happens. He didn't have COVID, but he imagined he would have. That is because our mind is gifted with this enormous capability of directing movies. How do we do that? We bring our memories from the past to the present and process them and project them into the future. We take what happens currently and add our imagination, and then we project them into the future. Some scientists say that this is an ability that we have acquired in the process of evolution, because it is needed sometimes to survive. And sometimes we create horror movies. Sometimes we create some romantic movies, sometimes even pornographic movies. How many movies did you direct today? You know, how many times we do that with our eyes open? You know, there are 3 stages, isn't it? We say sleeping. In sleep, you dream. but you don't know what you are dreaming. Then there is daydreaming. With your eyes wide open, you can imagine various things. And then, of course, thinking, which we can do in a planned way. Now, when this daydreaming happens, you create such strong movies, you forget that you were the scriptwriter, the director, the cameraman. You act as if you were in the audience. You get all the emotions that the viewers of the movie gets, but forgetting that it is your own creation. This is very interesting. Let's explore this a little bit further. I'm sure you have experienced at least once in your lifetime that you're being chased by a dog or an animal, a charging bull or a dog, and you got scared. Now, why did you get scared? Were you scared of the dog? Or did you get scared because of the thought that the dog would bite you, it would hurt you, and you might get hydrophobic? It is that thought process that created fear. Okay? So this fear arises from a thought. And once that starts, your mind starts creating all manner of
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. I would like to kindly inform you all to mute your microphones, please.
So, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi, sorry.
So, this ability to imagine is the one that creates this movies. Now, let's see whether it happens the same way with animals. As you have seen in many times on Animal Planet and channels like that, a tiger would chase a herd of deer, and if he doesn't succeed in catching them, they would just go back to grazing. They don't think, will that tiger come again and all that. They just go back because they don't have that ability to process that information and create movies like we do. So they get forgotten, they forget what happened. But we have this ability to create movies. And in times like this, where there is so much of uncertainty and so much of negative news being thrown at us, it is natural that we pick parts of this information and make our own movies. And sometimes these movies are, unfortunately, horror movies that make us scared, that make us suffer, that make us worry. But it is the same mind's capability that help us create positive futures, positive movies. Isn't it very interesting? So let's take this thought a little bit more. And it is these negative thoughts of fear and worry. We sometimes bring things from the past and process them and feel guilt and start worrying. That is memory. And funny, you can't do anything about it because it is past. Then you get frightened by imagining the future. What if? And you can imagine so many things that happens. If this happens, something else will happen. If that happens, this will happen. If those things happen, these things will also happen. So then what happens is you create a massive problem into the future that you just cannot handle. This thinking about it over and over again in the same way is called rumination. It exacerbates the gravity of the problem. Now, when you are confronted with a challenge, why do you call it a challenge? Because the resources you have is not sufficient to meet the requirement. You have to go for a meeting, you need 1 hour, but you have only 15 minutes. So the time is scarce and you feel it's a challenge. Then if you keep thinking about, oh, what happens if I get late for this meeting, these things happens and that will be an embarrassment or whatever, and you become agitated. Financial resources, you need $1 million, but you have only 100,000 rupees. So there's a gap. The moment gap is big and you don't have enough resources to fill the gap, you feel you are small, the challenge is big. It can be same with people, it can be with knowledge, it can be requirements, machinery, whatever. When the requirement is bigger than what you have, you become small than the problem. In such situations, your old part of your brain thinks, my God, your survival is at stake. And then it starts telling, this is dangerous. And then you get back to this mode of imagining all the negative things, and you get into this negative spiral and you get sunk in. This is how people get stressed. This is how people get depression and all that. So it sounds only one thing will get you out of this. Can I break the cycle? Break the cycle of constantly thinking of the same thing. You have listened to some people with problems.
Signal
can you, Anurag, can you please?
Right. So when you keep thinking of the same thing, like if you have confronted, if you have, whenever you met a person with a problem, you just listen to that person telling the story. You keep telling the same thing and come back to the same point, because it's like, you get into the same rut of thinking. So only way is by breaking the cycle. It's very, very important. Right? Can you break the cycle? If you can break the cycle, then you create that space to look at the problem. Because when you are so engrossed in it, you lose perspective. If I keep my hand like this, I cannot see the hand, neither can I see beyond my hand. But if I take it far away enough, I can see the hand and I can see the entire environment around. Exactly the same thing. So people who are in the problem, they cannot see the problem. There's a saying, only people watching the perahara can see the perahara. It's exactly the same thing. So if you can learn this art of creating a little space to break the cycle of this rumination, thinking the same thing, you'll be free. It is like, take a piece of paper, just a small piece of paper, right, like this. And if I keep holding on to this for some time, what will happen to me? It is not heavy right now, but if I start holding it on to for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then my hand will begin to ache. So what do? I just drop it. Exactly the same thing. So these things that worry you, if you can learn to let them be away in this thinking process for a short while, then you can look at it in the right perspective. That's why we are very good in giving answers to other people's problems, but not when they are our own problems. So this technique that we are going to discover is something like a safety device in a machine. The machine knows if something goes thicker than what is permissible, immediately some alarms will go and the machine will get stopped, right? The processing stops. The moment the processing stops, you can, shift a lever or whatever and remove the, it's like a paper jam in a photocopy machine, you stop and then the stops and then you open and remove the giant. This is exactly what you need to do in your mind. Let me relate an example to this. Do you remember that a couple of years ago, a group of young children got trapped in an underground cave in Thailand? And these kids were trapped there for a number of days until international help reached to rescue them. When the rescue teams reached for these children in that very, very scary location, they were expecting to meet a bunch of children who are completely devastated. But to their surprise, they were not like that. These children were, they were realistic. Not that they were overly enthusiastic, but they were realistic and they were not worried. Why? Because they had a teacher who had mastered the art of what we call mindfulness technique, and he helped these children to pay attention to the present moment, not to past, without thinking, oh, we shouldn't have come, we should have listened to our mother, we should have listened to somebody else and all. That's useless because it's past, you can't do anything. It only consumes your energy. And then don't think of all the negative possibilities. What happens if somebody doesn't come? Will we get stuck here forever? Will we die? All these things. Don't think of like that. Think of the present moment and stay focused in the present moment. He thought that. And that's how he kept his children alert. And after the event, after they were rescued, unlike any other group of children, and what normally happens is this kind of children will experience what is called post-traumatic stress disorder. These children didn't have any of those things. So this is the power of this technique of learning to break this cycle and preventing building these scary movies into the future. So how does this work? Actually, it works because our mind works on a very, very simple principle. At any given moment of time, there can be only one thought. At no moment you can have two thoughts, but they come in very quick successions. So that's the beauty. So if you can replace one thought with another, and if you can become aware of what's going on, that's it. Then you have learned the art of breaking that cycle which takes you down that precipice of scare and worry. So fortunately for us, the mind works in a way that it is possible. So let me illustrate this a little bit. All of us have this ability, awareness at different levels on different situations. Sometimes, usually when there's a stimuli, we react without thinking. In some other things, when a stimuli comes, we become aware and process it and make a response. Sometimes you become aware of what you did, what you said, many hours later, or sometimes at the end of the day, and you think, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Isn't it? Right? Mistake, I shouldn't have told that. But you realize it a couple of hours later, sometimes days later. On another occasion, you become aware of what you are doing halfway through. For example, you are in a gathering and you started relating an incident or a story, and you suddenly realize, no, I shouldn't be telling this when this guy is present. You then, say something else and wriggle out. So it means you realize it halfway through. Or sometimes you realize just before. For example, those of you who are parents will remember this. You might say, you lose your temper, you're angry with your child, and then you say, I know what to do if it is not here, you know. It means you got angry, but you became aware, and then immediately judged and said, no, this is not the place to hit him, this is not the place to scold him, you know, something like that, right? So there are 3 levels, first, second, third. You know, there's, I don't know if you remember, a long time ago in Silumina, there was a series by somebody called P.G.W. de Silva, you know. So he was telling, there's a story of Mahathir, you know, he goes to the temple in the evening. So after a chat and all that, he said, then he said, then he got up and started looking around, and Hamadru asked, Mahathir, what are you looking for? And he said, අයියෝ මහත්තයෝ පන්සලේ ඕනතරම් කුඩු තියෙන මම කුඩයක් දෙන්නම් දැන් මේ මල් පූජා කරන වෙලාවනේ අපි යන්නේ මල් පූජා කරලා ඉන්න ඊට පස්සේ මම දෙන්නම් කුඩයක්. So he couldn't say no, so he went to the shrine room, and then Hamadru said එනවා මහත්තයා පන්සල් ගියා. So කාමේසු මිච්ඡාචාර කියනකොට he suddenly remembered where he left the umbrella, you know. So that's how different people feel. So what I try to tell you is that this becoming aware of what happens in your mind is one of our basic capabilities. So if any basic capability can be developed, then it can be a skill. Right? So all what you need to do is, when your mind is either in the past, engaged about something that happened and thinking about it, or thinking about the future, if you can become aware, oh, I'm thinking, and then become aware of what happens right now, which is real at this moment, like a CCTV camera, without focusing, without adding extra lights or anything like that, just non-interfering. Right? So if you can do these 2 things, bring your attention to this moment, bring your attention to this moment. Please.
Sorry, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. Can you? I think there are some noises coming in. Can you please mute your microphone, please, for us to have the continuous.
So you need only to do 2 things: become aware and start observing what happens. If you can do that, you stop that whole rigmarole of creating movies which will scare you yourself. Be like any other skill. What is a skill? Skill is a basic ability that all of us have, and that can be improved by constant practice. Like cycling, it's like swimming, it's like singing, it's like speaking, anything. So what do you need to do? You need to practice something. And this has come from Buddhism, but it has nothing to do with whether you're a Buddhist or not. But I have to tell that because otherwise it's not authentic where this whole mindfulness thing comes from. I have been practicing this since 1980s, but this became quite interesting in the rest of the world in the 2000, around the year 2000. They started looking at what happens to people who practice this, constantly being aware, the mindfulness, and what happens to their brain and things like that. There are a lot of scientific researchers done, and they started experimenting with people who are practicing this and see what happens to your mind when you do that. And they found there's something that happens to your brain, because in the West, they think the mind is somewhere in the brain, right? In the East, of course, it's a different thought. We will not get into that, but it's just to let you know that this is something that the Western science is studying seriously. And this is a practice which you have heard is in the hermitages, in the monasteries in Tibet, Japan, Korea, Sri Lanka. And from there, it has now gone to classrooms and campuses in the world, and hospitals and clinics. And maximum security prisons, officers, boardrooms, parliaments. In England, the parliament passed an act saying a mindful nation because they figured out this practice. If you can introduce to the health, reforms and education in these three sectors, a lot of benefits which can be economically measured can be gained. That's how they went into that. And after some research in USA, they started using mindfulness related based stress management techniques, so that because stress is a major health issue in those countries. And then to manage pain when there's acute pain, like due to cancer or something like that. If you have to live with constant pain, they realized if you can just observe the pain without getting involved, then you can experience a different relationship with pain. In fact, I had a personal experience on that. I remember a long time ago, in the 1980s, I was a sales rep. One day at Ambalangoda, I had a hefty meal, with dallo and isso and balam, I can't remember, balamalu, del and all the stuff. And by the time I reached Gaul, I was with a tremendous headache. It was so strong, I didn't have the energy to come down and buy a Panadol and sleep. So I had no option but to just observe this pain. When I was observing it without getting involved, I could see the pain is also changing. It's not constant, it's like throbbing at some moment. It's like pulling at another moment. And while I'm looking at this pain, which is, really as a big lump in my head, I suddenly feel there's a pain in my knee. It means the knee pain at that moment is more than the headache. So then I started playing with this pain, and it took away that mental agony of the pain. The physical pain was there, but I was not as angry or agitated because of the pain. So these are the kind of benefits that you can get by looking at this screen. And now the sciences have shown that it helps fight depression, it fights anxiety, it fights memory loss, it helps regulate emotions, it improves academic performance of students, and it fights this post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of benefits are there. And there's a lot of research and a lot of things, if you want, you can read on this subject. I'm just telling you to, and Harvard Business School and once Time Magazine published a complete volume on this because it's such a hot topic. And in companies, some companies, they have complete programs on mindfulness because they have seen the benefit this has on people and their productivity, right? I mean, Americans don't do unless there's some financial benefit in companies like eBay, Google, and Target. These are top-notch American companies. They're getting people to practice this. Just an interesting illustration of how this is in schools in USA. I read a case study where this teacher, he used to get children from a very, very violent background neighborhood. And these children would have seen a murder, a real life murder, at least once before they become 4 years old. So you can imagine the kind of neighborhood from these children come. And when they come to the school, they are very boisterous, obviously. So what this teacher did was, they got every morning the kids to lie on ground and take a teddy bear and keep the teddy bear on the tummy. Now, if you keep a teddy bear on the tummy and watch what happens, the teddy bear goes up, teddy bear comes down, teddy bear goes up, teddy bear comes down. So you keep looking at the teddy bear, and after a few minutes, you become very calm. So that's one simple example of many that the children are using this technique. So it's child's play, right? If kids can do, chances are that you can do too. So I said it's a skill. Well, skills cannot be learned by listening. Skills have to be learned by practicing. So can I guide you a few minutes to at least practice a little bit of this, okay? And most of you who are in plantations are lucky because unlike in offices, you can find time, and the environment in which you live is very conducive to do this practice if you want. So for the time being, wherever you sit, sit with your back straight but relaxed. Bring your attention to your posture, how you sit. Close your eyes gently and bring your attention inward. And feel how you sit on the chair. Try to notice the sensations, how your weight touches the buttocks. How do you feel there? How do you feel underneath your soles? Which part of that touches the ground or shoe? How do you feel? What's the kind of temperature? How do you feel around the ankle, calf muscles? Are there any tensions? If so, ask that area to relax. Thigh. Ask them to relax. You've got them to do a lot of work for you. Ask them to take a rest. You feel the shoulders and come all the way to the fingertips. Why are you keeping your fingers, palms? Are they together? Or are they on the loud rest of the chair? Or are they on the thighs? In your palms, do you feel the temperature? From the waist area, take your attention slowly along the trunk, all the way up to the chest. And stay there and see whether you can feel the movement of your tongue, movement of your chest. And slowly bring your attention along the neck, on the back of your neck, to the top of your head. And the chin, the cheeks, face, and all the way to the top of your head. And see whether you can notice any sensations on the top of your head. Feel that you are sitting on it. Get a full sensation of your whole body sitting on your chair. And ask your body to relax. Now begin to learn, discover the sounds that are near and far. See whether you can notice the sounds and the silence in between. Now Bring your attention to your mind itself and see whether there are any thoughts that pop up. Waiting to see whether thoughts come. And if it belongs to anything to do with the past, gently tell, not now. If the thought is related to the future, gently tell, not now. And when you keep doing that, you'll find a little space, and in that space, you will notice that you're breathing. Once you begin to discover that you're breathing, keep watching the breath, how it comes in, how it goes out, without any interference, without any force. Just let it come, let it go. And while doing that, if another thought pops up, just notice that you're thinking, thinking, thinking. And see whether you can figure out where the breath is. Try to do this for a few minutes on your own. Take a deep breath, and while exhaling, open your eyes. And what we try to do is allowing your mind to settle down. And when it settles down, like a glass of water with muddy water, it calms down and things become clear. When the mind is clear, it is stable. When it is stable, you can take decisions that are better. So how do you build this practice of bringing your attention to this moment? Maybe, sorry for showing a coffee cup, but maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, right? See whether you can enjoy it from the beginning to the end. In the morning, perhaps, you take your cup of tea, hold it in your hand, and see whether you can feel the weight, the temperature, and bring it, smell the aroma, fragrance, and see what kind of memories it brings. And slowly start tasting and see where the taste you feel, and swallow what happens, and slowly see whether if your mind is picking up anything else, and come back to the cup of tea. So that's a few minutes of mindfulness in making and drinking a cup of tea. Walking, maybe you have a morning walk, and see whether you can just walk and be only with the walking. If you can, find a stretch and walk on the grass and see whether you can feel the sensation of touching the grass, and do it slowly, about 10 meters up and down several minutes a day. Simple things. What happens? So you try to focus your attention on the walk, and if the mind moves away from that, you remember, I'm thinking, I'm back to walking, So you learn to bring your mind to what you are doing right now, which is the only thing that you are doing. Right? And what we did was sitting. Right? So my suggestion is that you first find some time to do this, formal sitting thing, or walking. I think walking is a very, very good thing, right? Without having anything, just listen to the nature and walk and be only with the walking. And once you do that on a regular basis, right? I mean, it's like any skill. If you want to develop a skill, you have to set some time and keep practicing it. This is exactly the same. You keep practicing, you will develop it slowly but sure. You know, how to find time. I love this story. Uh, Once at a program, a father told me how his daughter, who studies in a leading girls' school in Colombo, has improved her response time in swimming. The moment the gunshot goes, she takes off from the springboard, and her timing, the speed at which she leaves is in par with Olympic standards. So he had asked his daughter, how do you build up such a good reflection? She said, no, every morning when we are coming to work, to school, every time she hears a tooting sound from a vehicle behind, he takes this jerk. In his mind, it's like the signal to take off. So it's like that. Whenever you get a chance to bring your mind to the present moment, right? Whether it is eating, whether it is washing, brushing your teeth is a fantastic exercise if you can do, right? See whether you can do only brushing without thinking anything else, right? And waiting for something, right? Waiting in a traffic jam, waiting for a lift, waiting for a meeting. Just see what is going on, And then you slowly discover yourself, what's happening. And then you discover that you can let go of what happens, right? So when you bring your mind to here and now, you begin to learn what's happening, aware of what goes on, and you learn to let go of what is not necessary right now. Then more importantly, as you keep practicing it, you begin to notice your intentions. Why am I doing this? What made me do this? Then you begin to develop deeper insights about you. That is the best thing that happens to you. You begin to recognize yourself, not somebody else tells about you. The more you discover yourself, you are starting a journey of living a different life, a life of freedom, not moved by things that others tell you and others do. And more importantly, you won't get scared by your own movies that you direct. So you will not have stress, although you have challenges. Because you will not get into the mode of daydreaming, but you will get into the mode of practical thinking. Okay, this is the problem. What shall I do? Okay, why don't I take one step at a time? Things like that is possible if you keep practicing this. If you want, you can read my books. They are available at Sarasari online. But the most important book you must read is yourself. So that is the journey that I invite you to take. And once you start that, you will discover more about you. I wish you good luck on that journey. And in the next 10-15 minutes, if you have any questions and clarifications, I would like to take them on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi. I think you have taken us from that topic into different ways of thinking that mindfulness is not a different or strange concept that you all can practice. We all can practice the day on our each and every activity. It's like it is actually being in the moment. What you are doing. Any activity in your office, in your workplace, wherever that you can practice that just to stable and do your work perfectly. So session is open for question. And before I open this session for the question, I would like to invite our Managing Director, Dr. Rashan Raldore. So if you can address few things on this session, would like to warmly welcome you.
Yes, yes, of course.
Hi, Roshan. Nice to see you.
Sooriyaarachchi, thank you very much. I listened to a very, how shall I say, a calming perspective of how to tackle the current stressors and challenges that we all have to undergo. So, particularly in a very stressful job, there are good moments in planting, but most of the time I am aware that our managers undergo tremendous stress from all 360 degrees. I think it's very timely. Something different which we have not listened to. How you can sort of, how shall I say, slow down, settle down, and uh, reset your mind. So thank you. Really, it's really interesting, particularly to our youngsters and our managers who are on the property, who are facing numerous challenges on many fronts. We are a challenge to them. Demanding, yes, it's a fact, demanding performance. Then there are colleagues, then the people whom they lead, the politics, everything is a challenge. So I'm really happy that Anuruddha, you decided a topic like this completely out of our ordinary way of handling our work pressure. So thank you for taking time. I read your book on mindfulness. I bought it.
Right.
It's very interesting. And I think our managers, I'm sure at least a few of them all have questions, but at least a few of them will be able to put them up to you. But let me say, I'm really grateful to you on an evening, taking time on a busy weekday to talk to us. It's really helpful. And we have this program getting experts in various different aspects of life and in work to talk to us so that we do not get stereotyped into one type of thinking. So in that sense, I'm really, really grateful. And I hope that one day you can come and speak to us personally in Radharla. We've had some speakers in different backgrounds, as I told you, and our invitation will always stand for you, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. I've heard much of you, followed your career, followed your lectures, read your books, and I hope the same benefit our managers and young assistant managers will get in sort of stabilizing their life, mainly life. If you have a stable life, everything else will follow thereafter. So over to you, Anuruddha, you can ask. Thank you very much once again. I really appreciate your time.
Pleasure, Roshan.
Thank you very much. Session is open for you all. I think you all can clarify anything related to mindfulness and related material from Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi. Actually, he conducted few sessions to head of his corporate team about just before the pandemic. We had a plan to take him to regions to conduct a full day session, but unfortunately with this critical situation, we couldn't execute that. But we have a plan to take him after once we get the green light on this health authority, health restrictions. Session is open for the question, please. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Deepal Sooriyaarachchi. I'm Mahesh from Panavatta.
Yes, Mahesh.
First of all, I would like to thank our MD, Dr. Roshan Rajroy, and Mr. Anuruddha Kamage for organizing continuous learning sessions like this. My question is how to overcome fear when thinking out of the box and how to develop self-esteem.
Okay, it's a brilliant question and a very important question. Let's explore together what fear is. You know, fear is always related to the future, right? Even about something that happened in the past, your fear comes by putting it into the future. Maybe you did something wrong, and therefore you think, will that get known or will there be a consequence? It's all about the future. So the fear, a lot of the time what happens is when fear as an emotion comes, we don't explore. We get driven by fear. You know, people hide, isn't it? Right? Many stories that we have heard, right? The fear can ruin a life because you believe it is to be true. You remember that Gita Maupassant's short story. His family borrowed a necklace and somehow they lost that necklace. And then they thought that was a real diamond necklace. And they got into debt, bought a diamond necklace and started working so hard and, you know, and they became, you know, very, very poor, very, you know, physically they became completely distorted. So that friend asked, what's happening to you guys? You were very happy and, thing, but now you see we are really, really looking very bad, completely lost. Finally, they said, we lost your diamond necklace, which you borrowed to go for a wedding. And we bought a one, but now we are paying through our nose, direct. They said, my God, it is not diamond, it was a fake, it was artificial. So because of that fear, without confronting, right? And when you want to do something, it is a fear of failure that comes as fear, And sometimes the fear comes in the form of, in relationships, you don't want to take a discussion. To avoid the unpleasant, you don't take the discussion, but the question festers, So, if you can develop mindfulness, what happens is you will be able to see the fear as a thought process, face to face. Because the feeling of fear comes because of a thought. And if you can notice the thought, then you can look at it, dissect it, and then see how much is real. What is the worst that can happen, And once you do that, then there's no big deal. What happens is we think there's a big deal in this. The moment you think of that, right, it becomes real. You have heard of this experiment, of a man who was about to be hung to death. He was told, we will not hang you to death, but we are doing a new experiment. That is, we are taking blood out of your system so that you will have a very peaceful death. They didn't do anything. They just get him a small prick. And then they created something which gave the sound of dripping, water. So he thought, oh, now my blood is dripping, dripping, dripping. And after some time, he just died. There's a recorded experiment. Because the fear became real. So when fear becomes real, right, some people say false evidence accepted as real is fear. So the first thing we need to do is, okay, now I feel frightened, step one. Number two, once you become aware that you are frightened, you are no more the frightened person. You are the person who has become aware that you got frightened. Then you can explore, where does this fear come from? What is the reason? What am I scared of? And sometimes the fear helps us to protect us also from danger. For every animal that's there, it's part of our survival instinct, but it shouldn't limit ourselves. Right? And I remember when I was once in a outbound training program, I was the one who was talking most. They said, Deepal, can you demonstrate how to wear the safety harness? So I wore it. He said, can you climb? Yes, I can climb. So we had to climb about quite a very high, about 70, 80 feet high ladder. So I climbed that. And then they said, now you jump. Then I was scared. They said, you jump, nothing will happen. Now, I was so scared, but I didn't have the guts to come down because there were a lot of people from different countries, girls, I didn't want to feel a weak person. So I jumped. The moment I let go, the fear vanished. I enjoyed the fall. I didn't fall. So it's like that. So it is that fear that is in your mind that is more than the real thing, like going to a dentist, There are people with tattoos all over the body, but when they want to give blood, they are scared. Right? So even self-esteem is a good part of it because, like, for example, people are scared to make presentations in public. Why? Because they think others will laugh at you. Why is they're scared that others will laugh at you? Because they think if you equate your image getting shattered in public to your whole survival being threatened. So that's the whole thing. So if you can explore fear to that degree, you can overcome fear. Was that okay? A good enough explanation?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Deepal Suraj. Thank you very much.
Ananda. Thank you, Ananda. It was a brilliant question.
Any other questions from the team? I think Asita has raised a question. Yeah, Asita, you can raise your question. Asita Tilakaratna from BOI.
Good evening, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi.
Good
And
evening, Asita.
I must thank my MD, Mr. Roshan Rajdore, and Mr. Anuruddha Gamage to give this opportunity. Mr. Sooriyaarachchi, my question is, does this meditation help to manage this stress and mindfulness?
Yes, I didn't use the word meditation because the moment you say meditation, you think of various things, right?
Yes.
So that's why I strategically did not use the word, right?
Yeah.
And now what you did was exactly that, right? And when you develop that skill, then you learn, because as I explained, the stress happens not because of the challenge. Challenge plus rumination. Now, Sattu, you know, same thing, right? We keep thinking of the same thing, right? And imagining all manner of things. So if you can stop this directing movies, then we can get out of stress, right? And then you can look at what is the real challenge. Okay, what are the steps that I can do? What can I do now? And focus only one that you can do now. Don't imagine all the things, you know, right? No point. Right? The art of doing that is this, what we practice. So if you keep practicing this, then you develop the ability to manage stress. So this is exactly what you asked. Thanks, Asika.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi.
Yeah, good question.
Any other questions from the team?
Anuruddha, with your permission,
Yes.
Once you finish and once Mr. Sooriyaarachchi logs off, I want 2 minutes. Please tell our managers to just wait for 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Once finish all the formalities, 2 minutes only.
Okay, right, thanks.
Okay, it looks like there are no more questions.
Yeah, there are no questions like, yeah. And there's another question from Rohan. He's from Levante State. He's asking, are there deeper reasons to practice than stress reduction, the mindfulness?
Yes, of course. The deeper reason is to discover yourself, know yourself, and get deeper understanding of yourself, improve your ability to think and clearer, you know, and a whole heap of things. Stress reduction is just probably the marketing part of it, you know, you say the most important thing, right? For me, it's only one part of it, but it's an important one. And there are far more benefits, especially clarity of thought. Right? And as a person who has been practicing this since 1980, I can guarantee you, I can assure you, it has been a significant contributor to my professional success in life and my relationships and everything. You know, you can be present in this moment, you know, 100%. So I think that's the best benefit you can get. And you become aware of yourself more and more. Then you become a more authentic person. You know, then life becomes much simpler. Then you don't have to wear, you know, now of course you wear face masks, but even without people wear so many masks. So you don't have to wear a mask. I think that is the simplest answer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. I think I must thank you on behalf of our MD and the entire team of Ellis Plantations. I think with short notice, when I invited you, you just told me, okay, Anuruddha, I will take that challenge and do it on that particular day. So thank you so much. And always, you always transfer your deep knowledge on this particular subject with our team. In future, once we get the green light from all this crisis, coming out from this crisis situation, we will invite you to be in our plantation region that we can meet all our plantation management team. So with that note, we are going to we are coming to the end of the session number 9 of Evening with an Expert at Harris Plantations with a timely needed topic that is on mindfulness that will help you to be steady mindset with the crisis situation and perform as the outlier. So with that wrap up note, would like to thank you very much once again, Mr. Deepal. Sooriyaarachchi, we have a small token of appreciation to you, but unfortunately,
virtually.
Virtually. So once I meet you, I will definitely hand it over to you on behalf of all from Harris Plantations. So this is a special gift for you. So once again, thank you very much and have a great evening. See you again, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. Thank you.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, and I'm also part of the team in a way because I'm part of Singer, so part of the family. All the very best. Stay safe and stay
Thank
healthy.
you, Mr. Sooriyaarachchi. Thank you and good night to you. God bless you.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So you can take us.
Gentlemen, just nothing much, very briefly, just a reminder, please, everybody on the forum, remember whenever we have, I think you all are now very, very used to this Zoom, consciously, please put your mic off unless you are the speaker, right? Consciously, I know we forget, even we do that when we have meetings, suddenly we put to speak and then we forget. Kindly make it a conscious decision to put your mic off, otherwise it's very rude and it's very ungainly to stop and say in the middle. That's number one. Whatever forum, if you are the speaker, yes, you are permitted. If you are not, put it off, and when you want to put it on, and remember to put it off. That's number one. And second, gentlemen, it's been some time I told each and every one of you, I like to see your beautiful photos. Some of them are still blank. It's not a big thing. Speak to, I don't know, someone, your children probably, or your MIS teams, and put a nice photograph of yourself. If it is your personal one, with your name, put a nice photograph of yourself, because when it is blank, most of the time we have to knock the video and the mic off. Then it's nice to see the picture rather than just to see a blank page or whatever, blank profile and the name. So again, just a small reminder. I hope by the next time we have a meeting, everybody will have a nice picture of yourself. I'm sure you can get a nice one. We like to see you. Right? Everybody kindly put a picture, spell your name, right? Give the capitals and all that. You have done that. Very good. And keep the mic off. And estate ones, if you're having estate, whatever you call this profile, kindly, like what we have told you all, put that letterhead, the estate name and the logo. That's all, gentlemen. Thank you for participating and good night to all of you. Have a great week ahead of you. Thank you very much. Anuruddha, you can close if you want to.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for participating in today's session. And we hope to meet you another 2 weeks' time with another interesting topic, most probably on sustainable financing with another eminent speaker from Sri Lankan fraternity. Till that, see you all and have a great evening. Thank you.